The guest is Andrea Goeglein. The book is Well Done Parenting. That's not well done parenting. That's well done parenting. And what we can learn from that, what we can learn in a nutshell, and is the 3 A's, and I think you're going to go through that because
Correct.
that book talks about the 3 A's.
Correct.
But some of this, attention, approval, and acceptance, are the 3 A's. But I've heard you speak of these three
Correct.
in different forms many times.
Correct. That's the really cute thing about this book. It is geared for someone with children, generally under 5, and giving them a story way to understand positive psychology and behavioral modification to help guide the child to success. But because of who's behind the book, the main author, Ken Blanchard, and then 2 or 3...
I know that name.
Oh, yes. Ken Blanchard is the 1 Minute Manager.
Yes, exactly.
He has a 30, 40-year career in helping the workplace accelerate how they...
efficient.
Exactly. How they work best with each other. And through that work, he got involved with SeaWorld because there is actually behavioralists who work with the animals. And they learned to use the same, or they found to use the same positive psychology in more current terms, or behavioral modification techniques with whales.
So Shamu has probably used this technique.
And it's pretty, I'm telling you, it's really amazing. What happened with this book is that it was given to me by the president of Barrett Kohler, the publisher who's so kind to give us so many books along the way. And when he handed me this one, I was like, okay, how do I be nice about this? I don't do children. Like, what is this about? Yeah. And I put it to the side. And then, when doing the Rachel Ray show, working with the producers for that, they really wanted me to simplify the tips that we gave to the audience to things people could use instantly. And it was in those conversations that I went back to this book. And it was like this door opened up in my own little brain that said, you know, I forgot. We, as children, were taught a certain way, and we as parents, when we wanted our children to be successful, taught them a certain way, and yet we probably didn't pay attention.
Does it go in depth on, like, attention? That would be a tough one, I think, for kids.
It gives such beautiful examples. And what I liked about this book is that most people have children. More people have children than not, and where it's easier to not talk about people at work where you really could be having a horrible conflict, and talking about something very dear to your heart like your child and wanting the child to succeed. When you're told, ignore the bad behavior, you know, if a child puts a hand on something that they shouldn't be touching, a glass that will fall off, instead of saying no, just take the child's hand, move it away. Don't actually say anything at that moment. Turn the child around, give them something else to do. And we have forgotten what it means to ignore behavior and shift it to the behavior that we want, which is what this is about. It reminded me that one of the challenges, the habits we have to break as adults, is that we're problem solvers. We're the world's greatest problem solvers.
What's wrong with no?
Well, no tells you what you shouldn't do, and I haven't given you 1 ounce of information about how you could succeed. What should you do? And what this focuses on, and what good behavioral theory focuses on, is continually getting you to what you should do. If I just go silent on what you shouldn't do and not put the spotlight on it, our famous line, where you put your attention is where you get your results,
so you're redirecting.
Absolutely, and that's their thing. Ignore and redirect. Those are 2 of the best things that we can do. Now, of course, and this is the other thing I liked about the book, they start out with conversations about a trainer, one of the whale trainers who's in training, who also has a 2-year-old. So she begins to use the techniques with her 2-year-old. But then as you go into the chapters, and this is a very, very easy book to read. This is what you could give anyone to start the conversation of where do you want to put your attention, how are we going to get the success, and what do we want to accelerate, what behaviors do we want to change, what are the challenges or consequences in the end. This allows you to think about it as a child. Then they have scenarios where they're at a block party and people are asking about teenage children, and then lo and behold, we get right to the workplace. So you're talking to the adults in their workplace, you're talking to young parents with children, and as we've spoken many times, the challenge of teenagers. Everyone thinks that a different set of rules applies when it comes to teenagers because it's so frustrating, and yet
leaves the planet.
I always thought a separate island was a good thing, but it's about moving away from being a problem solver and reminding yourself to become a success creator.
It crosses the generations, is what you're saying.
And it does it in a pretty sneaky way. Like, I had to go back, being handed the book and saying, why are you giving me this book? To then being able to see, oh my goodness, this breaks it down. This doesn't give you a lot of psychological jargon. This is putting you in day-to-day things. Sometimes, for a personality like mine, the language is a little too soft, just because I don't have that kind of soft personality.
You just like to hit the problem head on, I know. But now, how this evidently is not working with people who are driving on using their cell phone.
Well, yes, because that's a habit. All of the things that we've developed, driving, talking on our cell phones, and or texting while driving.
Not good.
And trust me,
that has to be changed.
Correct. And it's about what is the behavior, what's the success. So instead of telling me what the problem is, it doesn't take many times to know that driving and the accident rates and things of that nature, don't do it. Yet something has to shift in the behavior. So how about keeping the phone on silent when you're driving so that you still have it as a tool if an accident occurs?
Exactly,
but you're not distracted, right?
Because when it
not
rings,
even vibrating.
When a person's cell phone rings, I've noticed it with people. They are scrambling for that phone. It's like do or die. I must get that phone
and
call.
I'm as guilty as the next driver.
No, I know. And this is so wrong. It's so dangerous. Let's put it like this. Wrong, right, then it's dangerous.
Correct.
And also, and to follow on that point, Tanya, a lot of these rings now are specific people. When you hear a certain ring, that's another thing. Oh, that's my daughter. That's
exactly
I've
right.
got to pick that one up because this is this ring.
Yep.
And I think that also adds to that situation that you're talking about right now.
Correct. So it's about habits. And for the adult, it's telling you the habit you have to break is stop being a problem solver. When you are working with anyone from your child to your coworker, stop seeing what's wrong that has to be corrected and instead start focusing on how do I accelerate success? How do I set up the environment so that we're actually talking about achieving something of success versus me correcting something that you did not do. It is actually speaking a very different language, but all the things we've talked about all year long. And that's why I liked it, for its simplicity, for the fact that you could relate to the stories in the book.
When we come back, Andrea Goeglein with us talking about learning from whales. The book is Whale Done Parenting. You stay right there.